Reading is an essential life skill and is recognised as one of the most important factors for facilitating school success. In a society where the demands for literacy are ever increasing, the ability to read is paramount to a child's future success. Despite this, a significant portion of Australian students experience difficulties with reading, with many failing to learn how to read in the first year of schooling. A major finding in educational research reveals that children who do not acquire adequate reading skills in the first 3 years of schooling may never reach an average level of reading achievement by the end of primary school. In the past, we have waited until these children failed at literacy before intervening, but with the new knowledge we have about reading development, we can now identify ahead of time many of the children who will struggle with literacy before it's too late. Reading difficulties are associated with a cognitive processing deficit in areas such as phonological and phonemic awareness, word recognition, decoding, and comprehension. In the classroom, a child with reading difficulties may exhibit disruptive or off-task behaviours, be less engaged in class, become frustrated when reading, and have low self-esteem. Failure to implement early interventions may encourage a downward spiral in reading achievement for these children. Research demonstrates that the most effective way to acquire adequate reading ability is through explicit and intensive reading instruction, particularly for those at risk of reading difficulties. A study undertaken at a primary school in the UK found that explicit phonological instruction made significant improvements to the literacy outcomes of the students. By the end of Year 7, these students were 3 years and 6 months ahead of their age group in terms of word reading and 1 year and 8 months ahead in spelling. According to the Disability Discrimination Act and the Disability Standards for Education, educators have a responsibility to ensure that students with a disability can access and participate in education on the same basis as their peers. Teachers can meet these legal requirements by making reasonable adjustments in the classroom to assist students with a disability. One approach that is highly effective in providing differentiated and individualised learning support to students with reading difficulties is the Response to Intervention model. RTI is divided into 3 tiers of instruction. In Tier 1, the teacher delivers explicit and differentiated instruction to all students. This level of instruction generally meets the needs of 80 to 85% of students. Those that do not respond adequately to Tier 1 interventions are provided with further learning support in Tier 2, which involves more targeted learning in small group settings. Tier 3 offers the highest level of interventions and includes intensive or one-on-one learning support. In the initial phase of RTI, all students are screened using evidence-based measures to accurately identify or predict students who may be at risk of a reading difficulty. The Woodcock Reading Mastery Test for word identification is a valid and reliable tool for predicting reading accuracy amongst children. The test measures students' ability to read printed words and can take only 15 minutes to administer. The Sight Word Efficiency Test and Word Identification Fluency Test provide the most accurate and efficient predictors of reading fluency. The ultimate goal of reading instruction is to help children acquire all the necessary skills to be able to comprehend the meaning of a text. This can be fostered through explicitly teaching phonemic decoding skills, fluency, and comprehension. Phonics charts, songs, and rhymes are effective methods for facilitating students' development of letter-sound relationships, particularly when they are drawn upon on a consistent basis. To build fluency, teachers can read aloud to model accurate and fluent reading practices to the students. Repeated reading activities can also be helpful. For example, students can read a passage or a list of sight words in 1 to 2 minutes. The teacher or student records how many words they read in the time limit and track their results on a graph to show their progress over time. Audio-assisted reading is another great tool for modelling reading fluency for students. Students can listen to an audio recording of a text while they follow along with their own copy. Comprehension can be facilitated through explicit teaching of vocabulary, as well as diagrams and graphic outlines to help students extract and organise important information from a text. The 3-level guide for reading comprehension can also be incorporated to encourage students to read text critically. Through early interventions, we can identify children with reading difficulties before it's too late.